Hey, what's up, OCNers? Blue Devil here again. Gaming monitors. Something we have looked at quite a bit here in the past. But I think Samsung has something that just might be the most immersive gaming experience yet, with no trade-offs, right after this. Oh, what's that? You want display HDR 1000? Must have FreeSync and G-Sync support? Duh. A stupid fast refresh rate? Yeah. Today we're gonna find out what Samsung has cooked up from last year's 120Hz DQHD CRG9 with the new Odyssey G9, the 49-inch behemoth of a gaming monitor that Samsung has sent to me to take a look at. So I really didn't think super ultra-wide gaming was going to get any better than Samsung's previous flagship, the CRG9 from last year, but I was dead wrong. Samsung really has been hard at work pushing the gaming monitor boundaries further than other manufacturers in the past few years. Previously, I had looked at the 32-inch G7 and I loved it, review here, while only having an issue with its PPI count in the 32-inch model. Shifting gears from the 16:9 ratio to the super ultra wide 32:9, the 49-inch G9 improves in two big departments from its predecessor, refresh rate and curvature. This, my friends, is the cream of the crop. So kicking things off is the obvious, the extreme curve. The G9 actually is the world's largest 1000R curved gaming monitor. Last year's CRG9 had a curvature of 1800R, which was immersive, provided you turned ahead a bit to view the entire screen at times. With a more aggressive 1000R curve, Samsung figures gaming would be even more immersive than ever before. Having tested both models now, I can honestly say that the G9 does feel better to game on as opposed to the CRG9. The curve is said to be on par with the natural curvature of the human eye. I know a lot of people are going to love it or hate it, but I really don't think it takes any time at all to adjust to this 32:9 format. To accommodate the extreme 1000R curve, the G9 has a glossy white plastic back with the Odyssey logo on the right hand side. Cable management was also a good upgrade with a shell that pops off and hides your cables inside the stand, which also has a flip out headphone hanger. Though I don't know if anyone's going to be reaching over the G9 to hang them up, but hey, nice touch. The stand is tilt height and rotate adjustable, very similar to its predecessor. Aesthetically, the Odyssey G9 is a looker, down to its glossy white back panel, to its infinity core lighting, which is color customizable via the OSD. To reach the OSD, the bottom mounted joystick is offset by about a foot, something that struck me odd until I used it. Perfect placement. The joystick placement makes it easy to comfortably access. The OSD hasn't changed one bit from the CRG9, which I find to be very functional and easy to navigate. Things like video and photo editing, like I said in the G9 review, really isn't what the G9 was intended for, but it's got a wide range of color gamut which is factory calibrated. sRGB coverage is at 125%, DCI-P3 at 95%, and the Adobe RGB coverage is at 92%, meaning the G9 is fully capable of doing those kinds of productivity tasks. Speaking of colors, I did test with my Datacolor Spider X Pro colorimeter, which I found the numbers to be close to advertised. Just mind you that the Datacolor Spider X does not report anything higher than 100% of its metrics, even though the G9 is rated higher. HDR, something that in Windows 10 is really lackluster. Now, since the G9, like the CRG9, holds the Display HDR 1000 certification, what it really means is that all eyes are in it for a great HDR experience. My recommendations for using HDR starts with using a DisplayPort 1.4 cable. Anything less, you won't be able to run 10-bit colors due to higher bandwidth limitations. Now, in the past, HDR for me has always been a dimmed, washed out look, as most of you can agree. Most of this IMO can be solved by adjusting the game HDR luminance to your liking. Having edge-lit local dimming as well as a static contrast ratio of 2500:1 also helps. Samsung states that the G9 is also using quantum dot technology, meaning this QLED has more vivid colors with 125% more color space compared to the standard sRGB color space. I can honestly say with quite certainty that the G9 is the most immersive HDR gaming experience I've seen today. Now let's talk about that refresh rate, 240 hertz. Effectively doubling last year's CRG9. Samsung does not want your monitor to be the bottleneck. 240 hertz also tends to go with a 1 millisecond gray to gray response time, just like the G7. Actually, the G9 is almost the same spec-wise as the G7. Just to reiterate, the Odyssey G9 is rocking a 49-inch 1000R curved VA panel at 5120 by 1440p, running at 240 hertz. Support for either AMD's FreeSync or NVIDIA's G-Sync, with both ranging from 60 to 240 hertz. Meaning, if you're running native resolution, you must maintain over 60 FPS to keep gameplay buttery smooth. Any lower and either adaptive sync technology will not be active. I decided to up my test bench PC to an RTX 2070 Super, still underpowering this panel, as I would have preferred to test with an RTX 2080 Ti, but I don't have one. In my G7 review, I complained about not having enough PPI for a 1440p panel. This is so not the case with the G9. While having the same vertical dimensions as the 27-inch version of the G7, the G9 is essentially two QHD 27-inch monitors in one complete package with a total PPI of 108.97 pixel density. Another spec that was pointed out is the type of panel used. To be fair, these are much better VA panels of years past. The funny thing is I couldn't find a single IPS gaming monitor that had a Display HDR 1000 certification and a refresh rate over 144 Hz. Not a single one. So when people dog on VA panels for not being as good, the VA panels that are in the G7 and G9 are, it's like an IPS without bad contrast ratio. This was on Turmoil 26 on Reddit, to quote specifically. So leaving pricing until last, with an eye-popping price of $16.99 US, the Samsung Odyssey G9 is definitely going to put a rather large dent in your wallet, provided you have the GPU horsepower to drive it. Okay, Blue Devil, but what about gaming? Running my 8700K at 5 GHz with the RTX 2070 Super, I loaded up Halo Master Chief Collection, specifically Halo 3, since it was just released. While playing, I kind of lost track of time because of all the fun I had blowing stuff up. Immersion was definitely there. Halo 3 most of the time ran north of 240 Hz, running like melted butter on a hot day. I was also really surprised that the 32:9 5120 by 1440p resolution was supported as well. Next up, I loaded up Doom Eternal, and this HDR experience was much better than Halo 3, mostly due to being developed with HDR in mind. The Doom Eternal experience was pretty good, colors popped, and I didn't feel like any ghosting was present. So I also ran a few tests over at Blurbusters. To my eyes, the Odyssey G9 is absolutely on point with every test I threw at it. What took me the most was the frame skipping test. 2 freaking boxes. That's it. Most of the time I see 3 to 5 boxes with the last 2 trailing off. Wow, just wow. Also, there was no backlight bleed whatsoever. Take that, IPS glow. Okay, so everything is all hunky-dory with the G9, right? Well, I loved having the ability to test this monitor. I guess the only downside is that it's really heavy. That's it. That's all I have. It really is a pity that I have to send it back to Samsung, but then again, it makes it really easy to award Overclock's scorching award to the Samsung Odyssey G9. Okay guys, thanks for tuning in. If you want links to the Samsung Odyssey G9, links will be in the description below. Are you subscribed yet? If not, smash that like button while you're at it. Blue Devil, out.